Getting a tattoo hurts. Your skin will be punctured thousands and thousands of times by sharp needles, but there are definitely some parts of the body that hurt more than others when tattooed. We've listed the top 10 most painful places to get a tattoo. The most painful is definitely not where you think it is. Number 10. The nipples. This part of the body is highly sensitive. All someone has to do is just step out into the cold, and just this change of temperature will cause them to slowly swell. This is because there are a lot of nerve endings in the nipples, which can be stimulated during sex or when a baby needs to breastfeed. However, with all these nerve endings, it should come as no surprise that getting a tattoo here would hurt a lot. Any part of the body that has a lot of nerves also has a lot of pain receptors. Sure, the nipples can provide pleasure, but they can also be a source of immense pain. Just ask anyone who was given a purple nipple as a kid. When the tattoo needle punctures the nipple, it also is ripping through the nerves that lie just under the surface. When the nerves are destroyed, it is incredibly painful. Signals are sent to the brain to make sure that you know your body is being damaged. The highly sensitive nature of the nipples make them an incredibly painful place to get tattooed. And speaking of pleasure centers, number 9 on our list of most painful places to get a tattoo is the genitalia. Regardless of if you have lady parts or man parts down there, getting them tattooed is going to be excruciating. Now, to be fair, there will be some areas where the nerve endings won't be as highly concentrated, but when the tattoo needles reach the head of the penis, or the labia or clitoris, it'll definitely be an unbelievable amount of pain. This is because, like the nipples, there are a lot of nerve receptors in the area. Normally, these receptors are used for pleasure purposes, and that's why they're so sensitive. But if they're being punctured over and over again by needles, the body will react negatively and send massive amounts of pain signals to the brain. Before we go any further, let's be clear about what a tattoo really is. When you get a tattoo, your skin is being pierced by sharp needles at around 100 times a second. This is obviously going to hurt. These needles need to break the skin in order to inject the tattoo ink under the first layer and into your epidermis. The ink then dyes the tissue, and this is what creates the color of the tattoo itself. The craziest part is that a tattoo gun normally doesn't consist of a single needle, so every second of the tattoo, your skin is actually being punctured by multiple needles at the same time. In fact, some tattoo guns can consist of up to 25 needles, meaning you're being pricked by 25 pointy objects every millisecond until the tattoo is completed. This is just something to keep in mind when we continue through our list. Number 8 is the ankles and wrists. These are areas of the bodies that have basically the same structure, which lead to them both being very sensitive during the tattoo process. The wrists and ankles are made up of a lot of different bones, all being held together by muscles and tendons. It's unlikely that tattoo needles will ever go deep enough to rip apart those tendons, but if an inexperienced tattoo artist makes a terrible mistake, you could end up with torn ligaments that would hurt like hell. However, even if everything goes according to plan, getting a tattoo on the wrist or ankle hurts because of the proximity of the bones to the top of the skin in these regions. If you look at your wrists right now, I'm sure you can see where the bone is located. Wherever the bone sits close to the surface of the skin, it means the needles will most likely chip away at some of it. Not enough to cause any lasting damage, but enough to cause an incredible amount of pain. Just as a rule of thumb, anywhere the bone is close to the surface of the skin will be a painful place to get a tattoo. Which brings us to number 7, the fingers. Considering that fingers are pretty much all bone, getting a tattoo here is really painful. The skin on your fingers is really thin and sensitive. This is because you need to be able to feel the things you touch. Touch is caused by nerve receptors in your fingers, sending signals to your brain, which then interprets as smooth, rough, hot, cold, etc. Since touch is extremely important to human species, our fingers are loaded with these nerves and receptors to gather as much tactile information as possible. Unfortunately, when you get a tattoo in these sensitive areas, tons of pain signals get sent to the brain. Since the skin and muscle is so thin on the fingers, it's inevitable that these needles will come in contact with the bone, causing even more pain. And if that isn't bad enough, the shallow skin means the ink doesn't stick to the area of the body very well, which requires the tattoo artist to go over the fingers multiple times to make sure the ink sticks. Number 6 on our list of most painful places to get a tattoo is the knee. This area of the body can be excruciating to get inked because of the very thin skin on top of the kneecap. Think of every time you've skinned your knee and how much the initial scrape hurt. Now imagine your knee being scraped over and over again every time the tattoo gun needles puncture the skin and prick your kneecap. It's the close proximity of the bone, the tendons, and the skin on the top of the knee that makes this area so painful to get tattooed. But even getting a tattoo on the back of the knee can cause pain. This is because of the massive amounts of nerves and tendons running down the back of your leg, connecting it to the rest of your body. There is practically nowhere on the body that has large bones so close to the skin as with the area number 5 on our list, the rib cage. Getting a tattoo here means it's all but inevitable you'll have a needle poked into one of your ribs. Again, the needles don't go super deep, but deep enough that some nerve receptors are going to be triggered. There's almost no protective fat or muscle surrounding the rib cage, so once the needle penetrates the skin, it's coming into contact with bone. Also, you unfortunately have to breathe during the tattooing process, which means the rib cage will be moving and the skin around it will be tightening and contracting. This just makes tattooing the area a little more difficult and the pain a little more intense than other parts of the body. Number 4 is the head and face, which probably comes as no surprise. Like the rib cage, this part of the body lacks large amounts of fat and muscle, making every stroke of the needles painful. Also, the face is full of nerves that allow you to make all the different expressions as your body is being tattooed. The combination of bone close to the skin and the millions of nerves running along the face and head make this part of the body super painful to have tattooed. There's also a psychological component to this area of the body. The proximity to the retina and the ears means that all of your senses are involved when the face gets tattooed. This makes it very hard to remain calm and not tense up. Some research suggests that the more tense you are, the more intense pain signals can be when they reach your brain. So you can see why tattooing your face would be both nerve-wracking and painful. We've now reached the top 3 most painful places to get tattooed. You might be wondering what could be left that would be more painful than the groin, ribs, and face. One structure in the body literally connects all the nerves that run through it to your brain. Number 3 on our list is the spine. Getting tattooed on this area of the body is so painful that some tattoo artists warn against it, unless you've already gotten tattoos elsewhere. The vertebrae that make up your spine sit just below the skin, and each one has millions of nerves running around and through them. Getting the spine tattooed can also be dangerous. Since the nerves are relatively close to the skin in this part of the body, the tattoo artist needs to make sure the needles don't get too deep. If a needle does pierce a nerve, it'll be incredibly painful, and blacking out momentarily could occur. Number 2 on our list is probably not what you were imagining, but when you think about the armpit, it can be pretty sensitive. Getting a tattoo on your armpit can cause massive amounts of pain. This is a location that tattoo artists advise only people with high thresholds for pain get inked. There are a lot of nerves that run along the side of the arm and body, which pass through the armpit. And although there's not much bone there, the number of veins, arteries, and tendons in the area make getting your armpit tattooed really painful. This brings us to the most painful place in the body to get a tattoo. And if you've ever hit your funny bone, you know it's not funny. But getting a tattoo on your elbow may be one of the most painful experiences there is. Number 1 on our list is the elbow. It has been reported by experienced tattoo artists and people who have been tattooed all over their body that the most painful place to get a tattoo is the elbow. This is because of the extremely close proximity of the bone to the skin. It's almost impossible to ink the elbow without hitting the bone. And since many nerves run up the arm over the elbow, you have not only bone but the nerves that sit close to the skin there. The skin is very thin, there is no muscle or fat, and the bone is very sensitive, which is why bumping or tattooing your elbow hurts so much. It's reported that the pain experienced while getting an elbow tattoo is not gradual but immediate. Once the needle penetrates the skin, many people report reaching their pain threshold almost immediately and needing a break. This extends the amount of time to complete an elbow tattoo, which means the pain is drawn out over long periods of time. It's important to note that everybody is different and everyone will have different pain thresholds, but this list is the 10 most painful places to get tattooed, regardless of whether you have a high tolerance for pain or not. Also, it's been suggested that age may play a factor in how intense tattoo-related pain can be. The older someone is, the more pain they tend to feel while getting a tattoo. So if you've been putting off getting a tattoo, it may be better to do it sooner rather than later. Sex also plays a role in how painful a tattoo can be. For example, females may feel pain more intensely than males. But males have reported pain in certain areas, such as the head and groin, to be more intense than females have reported in the same areas. Regardless of pain tolerance or sex, getting a tattoo in these 10 areas is most likely going to hurt. So if you're planning on getting a tattoo, try to remain calm and go to a tattoo artist you trust. Now watch The Worst Pain Ever? These injuries will make you cry like a baby. Or check out Why Do You Have Pain Here When You Run?